Welcome back to the Crypto's Key conversation. We're going to quickly jump into CoinGecko here. Still sitting at a $1.74 trillion market cap, currently sitting down almost a half a percent. Looking at the top 10 here, Bitcoin sitting at 36,677, Ethereum sitting at 2,425, Tether's Tether, Binance Coin sitting at 379.88, Cardano sitting at $1.08, Solana 93.21, XRP sitting at 61 cents, Terra sitting at 62.26, Dot sitting at 18.36. So as you can see, there's some green trying to pop up here in the 24-hour period, but we've still been hit pretty hard in the past few weeks. We're currently sitting at a 12 on the Bitcoin Fear Greed Index, still in the extreme range. And like we talked about in our past videos, a lot of it's due to just market uncertainty and a lot of fear and FUD that's going out there. Obviously, we know it's not just the crypto market that's being affected. It's the S&P 500, the NASDAQ has been affected as well. And a lot of it stems from inflation and what the Fed and Jerome Powell are going to do with their tapering and the interest hikes and stuff. So we talked about the meetings that were coming up, and Jerome Powell had mentioned in one of the interviews that he was talking about that, if everything goes well according to their plan and their calendar, within the next two meetings, they'll get to the point to where they start working on the interest hikes and everything. So obviously we're currently in the meeting phase right now. January 25th and 26th is the first set of meetings, and then March would be the second. So by this time we'll start to figure out what exactly their plan is when it comes to increasing the interest rates and stuff. So I'm coming to talk on some of the FUD and negative articles that's been coming out. I came across this one. It says IMS asks El Salvador to remove Bitcoins as legal tender status. As El Salvador's financial woes continue, the IMF recommends the country abandon its Bitcoin plans. And I just wanted to come down here and read some of these quotes. It says, directors stress that there are large risks associated with the use of Bitcoin. They urge the authorities to narrow the scope of the Bitcoin law by removing Bitcoin's legal tender status. The statement on Bitcoin in Chivo shows this is too close to de-dollarization for comfort. And then it says the tone of the statement is quite negative. So Pomp had tweeted here. He says the IMF is urging El Salvador to remove Bitcoin as legal tender. This will be interesting to watch as it unfolds. Absolutely, I'm curious to see how this is going to turn out. Obviously, there's been a lot of benefits to El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as legal tender, and they've been purchasing a lot and everything. So it'd be interesting to really see what happens with this. So coming over here, I wanted to talk about, when it comes to exchange reserves. So just the definition of it, it says the total amount of coins held on an exchange. So one thing I wanted to look at, this article was from January 4th, but it had this chart up here that was showing, obviously it has, January 2022 here, but it was showing based on the price of Bitcoin when it was currently, within the 46,000, 45,000 range versus, the exchange reserve. So as you can see here, the blue line is exchange reserve. So how much is on that exchange, and then the price. So as you can see, the reserves are down even when the price was up here. And I wanted to compare it to this one here. This is by Crypto Quant. So it's the same thing here. So as the price plummeted it from, 40, what was this? 50,000 all the way down to 35,078. So right here. And then the reserves still stay low. So, these bigger players, and whether it's retail, institutions, whatever the case is, they're still buying at all these levels, and the reserves, they're taking them off exchanges. It's not like they're putting them on the exchanges, because typically when the Bitcoin and other assets go on exchanges, typically they go on to be sold. But when they're being taken off, they're being put into cold storage and whatnot. All that does is increase the whole demand. So if there's not as much, Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies on the exchange to go around, the price is going to go up. So this is quite evident that this is seen as a positive when it comes to what we're going through in this dark and gloomy and FUD and fearful state of the market. Just wanted to kind of touch on that. A little bit of positive here. It says third largest wallet now holds more Bitcoin than MicroStrategy, adds 18 million of Bitcoin amid crash. So even though that there's so much fear and FUD in the market, and we've been decimated in our price within the market, especially in Bitcoin, these bigger players, they see the writing on the wall. They know where this thing is going, so they're continue to accumulate, or as they say, they're stacking sats, continuing to buy and hold as much as they can. And to touch on that, they're comparing them to MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor says, our strategy with Bitcoin has been to buy and hold. So to the extent we have excess cash flows or we find other ways to raise money, we continue to put it into Bitcoin. So I wanted to come over here, and he was saying, there was a tweet here where he was talking about, they asked him pretty much, based on, this so-called winter and, all this negatives and, prices are plummeting, how does that affect your investment strategy when it comes to Bitcoin? He says, if you're going to invest in Bitcoin, a short-term horizon is 4 years, a mid-term horizon is 10 years, and the right time horizon is forever. So we're going to listen to what he said here.
So about this possible winter, are you really not feeling the cold?
Look, if you're going to invest in Bitcoin, a short time horizon is 4 years, a mid-time horizon is 10 years. The right time horizon is forever. Warren Buffett said, if you wouldn't hold it for 10 years, you shouldn't hold it for 10 minutes. So if you look at the course of 4 years, no one's ever lost money over 4 years holding Bitcoin. And if you look at, our experience, we started buying it at $10,000, and now it's up by a factor of 4. So given the right time horizon, you're fine. So it's a blessing and a curse. The blessing is it makes it the most exciting, interesting thing in the financial universe everywhere in the world. And the curse is it can induce anxiety for people that have a short attention span or are focused on a narrow time horizon.
I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. And so just to further validate, why he values Bitcoin so highly, amongst all the other assets, but just Bitcoin in particular is because of this. We're going to listen into this.
With every other asset on earth, anything else you can own, houses, gold, silver, commodities, stocks, bonds, when the price goes up, the supply increases. If I increase the price of any stock by a factor of 10, the company issues more stock.
Of course.
Bitcoin's the only thing in the world that's inelastic to price. If the price of Bitcoin triples, you can't make any more. If the price goes up by a factor of a million, you can't make any more.
So, I mean, that's why he has super high conviction when it comes to Bitcoin. And then a lot of us that invest in other projects and have high conviction on other projects, see it the same way. It's just not Bitcoin's not the only one. There's a limited supply when it comes to, other assets that we highly value in the space. But just in the space in general, this space offers so much that can truly change, how we run our lives from a day-to-day operation, and it really can make our lives more efficient when it comes to cross-border transfers or even just communication with one another, and so much more, because the space offers so much. Pomp had tweeted this here. He says, great message from Scaramucci this morning about Bitcoin being digital energy. So I wanted to play this one as well. Let's take a listen in.
Certainty. And so retail investors, I think people are saying they want them to stack and hold on and think of it the way we should have all thought of Microsoft or Apple or Google. It's that good of a technology. It is a transformational event. If you and I really study the blockchain and we recognize that these securities, these cryptocurrencies, however they're going to eventually be deemed by the SEC, are going to delayer the economy and make the economy more efficient, then I think Michael Saylor is ultimately right that Bitcoin represents digital energy, digital property in that landscape, and people are going to want to have that on their balance sheet so that they can make those transactions. But please do not lever.
So just some more positives. I mean, obviously they're referencing Bitcoin, but we're just about the entire space in general. This space offers so much. So with all this, doom and gloom, and as they say, a lot of blood in the streets, and markets are being affected, and then you have inflation meetings, and the Fed and the uncertainty with that. Plus you have all these traders and institutional investors that are trying to time the market, and they're selling off, and you have a lot of investors that are are selling bottoms because they're extremely fearful of what's going on. So amongst all that stuff, there's still so much happening, and the space offers so much. Michael Saylor said it best. I mean, no one's lost money when investing in Bitcoin in particular, holding over a 4-year period. So now if you really look at, the bigger picture of things, from, inception of Bitcoin till now, it's literally been in a continuous uptrend. So in the grand scheme of things, the writing's on the wall. It's quite evident that, Bitcoin in the crypto market is here to stay. And it's quite evident that it shows that it can really change our day-to-day lives and really impact our lives around the world in every way. So with that being said, I wanted to touch on some positives. It says U.S. digital currency could preserve dollar supremacy. Bank of America central bank digital currencies are inevitable evolution of today's electronic currencies. So that's massive. That's massive to see that. Also, Blockworks right here, it says breaking. Charles Schwab, 7.5 trillion asset manager, is considering launching a crypto spot ETF, which is massive. We've been waiting for a spot ETF for forever now. So it's about time we get something rolling. Obviously, Canada has their thing rolling. It's time for us to get that rolling, and that could just be, what ignites another rally within our market. Also, Blockworks says here, breaking. YouTube CEO says they will explore NFT integrations. Coming down here, it says, we're always focused on expanding the YouTube ecosystem to help creators capitalize on emerging technologies, including things like NFTs. So this is massive. Obviously, YouTube has a fat user base, millions and millions of people. Plus, you have just the exposure. You have Google coming in, with their whole I think it was their card or something that they came out with. They're getting involved. And then you have other, massive companies, Walmart getting involved in the metaverse, Nike. There's so much adoption happening left and right amongst all the fear and FUD that's in the market, portfolios being decimated. People are screaming and kicking and just being so fearful and, so fearful that they're literally dropping out of the market. Amongst all that, there's still adoption happening in the backgrounds, day by day by day. And it may not happen as fast as we like, but it's happening. I wanted to end on this because I talk a lot about what Kathy Wood and ARK Invest and kind of their predictions. But it says Kathy Wood's ARK Invest predicts the price of one Bitcoin could exceed $1 million by 2030. Well, that's massive. I mean, we're currently sitting at 36,677 right now for Bitcoin. $1 million by 2030. That is less than 8 years away. And they were predicting that in 2030, the entire crypto market could be worth 40 trillion. And we're currently sitting at a $1.74 trillion market cap. So, I mean, that just goes to show you there's a lot of big players out there that truly see the writing on the wall and they truly have high conviction on where this space is going to go. But that's just kind of my, view and opinion on kind of what's going on. Obviously, there's a lot of fear and FUD out there. I just want to, send some love your way. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.